Hello and welcome to the Happy PharmD podcast. I'm Alex Barker, founder and CEO of the Happy PharmD, where we help pharmacists get jobs they love. And today I'm joined by Melissa Turner. Melissa is the founder of Tarheel PGX Consulting.
Mhm.
She was a retail pharmacist, but now is an entrepreneur working for herself.
Yeah.
And I thought we would talk today about a little bit of her journey and how goal setting has played a role in that.
Mhm.
Melissa, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what you do as the founder. I already know as the founder, you do way more
Uh-huh.
than just the work. But
Yes.
if you could tell us about your consulting business.
Yeah. So as the founder and as of right now, still the only employee for my company, I do it all. So I meet with patients to help them understand how their DNA or genetics impact the medications that they take so that they can know if there's a medication that if they were prescribed it, it could cause them harm or some sort of adverse effect, or it could be something that if they take might actually not provide any benefit to them. And so that is the pharmacogenomics, the study of how a person's DNA affects their medications, or PGX for short. And so when I was first introduced to this area, it was so new to me. I had not ever heard of it before. I didn't have it in school. And
Mm,
so when I found out about it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Why are we not using this for everybody? This seems like a wonderful tool that we can use to help save our patients time and money so that they're not having to go to the doctor or the pharmacy and potentially get a prescription that they don't need. And that would be beneficial for the pharmacy as well. Less patients. That's where I came from. So anything we can do to decrease the workload on our pharmacists is a wonderful thing, and it's good
mm.
for the health system as well, and hospitals, keeping people out of the emergency room and hospital stays. So that's what I do. For my business, I also do all the marketing and social media, content creation, writing
A lot.
blogs for my website.
You do a lot.
Yes.
And I know that when we worked with you as your career coach in the
Hmm.
beginning, it sounded like you had spent most of your time in retail, right? So you
Yes.
kind of saw healthcare on the other side, what
Right.
it was like and what was missing.
Hmm.
Um, what inspired you with your coach to like think I could be an entrepreneur? Because to be honest, when I first started the Happy Farm D, I really saw entrepreneurship as a gateway drug or tool to escape, the doldrums of a boring job. But the
Hmm.
more I talked with people, the more I discovered most people just want a job. They don't
Hmm.
want the hassle of running their own company.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So with my coach, Jackie, I know all the students that go through the program do this as well, but there's a lot of personality type tests and exercises that we go through to understand who we really are. And because of that, I realized, yes, I knew working in a retail setting was not good for me, but I didn't really understand why it was not
mm,
good for me and my personality. So through those tests, I was able to see that I'm someone who likes to learn. I like to think. I need time to form an answer. I'm not good with just spitting stuff out really quickly. That was something that gave me a lot of anxiety in the retail setting, where people
mm.
coming up to me to the counter and spouting off a bunch of questions. And I'm like, I don't remember. I don't know. And then I feel
Right.
stupid. Like, how do you not remember all of that? And so
Oh,
I just
I
felt
can
like
so
I wasn't.
relate. How did you always have that feeling in pharmacy? Like that was my greatest fear for like the
Yes.
first couple of years was
Yes.
a pharmacist or a
Mhm.
patient.
Mhm.
If it was a patient, I knew like, okay, hold on, I think I can look this up. I think I can
Right.
like remember. But
Yeah.
like when a doctor or a
Yes.
pharmacist asked me something, oh my, and I went through residency. I
Uh-huh.
felt like such an idiot because I was
Yeah.
afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Right.
Did that happen to you for a while as well?
Oh, yes, all the time, and it still does. All these years later, people will come up to me at a restaurant or at church, they know I'm a pharmacist and start asking me questions, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't remember," and I don't know where we got this false sense of pharmacists have to know everything about every drug and in every type of patient, whether it's a child or a
Yeah.
middle-aged adult, a senior citizen. Just, I mean, there's so many different variables, and so, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable saying, "I don't know the answer, but I can look it up for you." But yeah, definitely in the beginning, I was so scared. I didn't want anybody to ask me a question because I was like, I didn't want to be put on the spot. But going through the process with my coach, I realized that this type of role is better for me and that
Mm,
I get to work with a patient uninterrupted. There's no phone lines ringing, nobody else vying for my time and attention. So I
yeah.
love that. And then I also, once I get a patient's results, I have time to study them and to research if I need to, go to the guidelines and the different resources that I have available to formulate my answer before I meet with the patient so that I don't get put on the spot, hopefully. So just going through that process, realizing retail's not working. I hate being there, but why is it not working?
So I think this is a great reflection for anybody who's looking, whether it's entrepreneurship or any kind of
Mhm,
job, right? Knowing what parts of the environment you work well with is a
mhm,
great reflection exercise to understand what your next place should be like.
right.
Um, One of the things I learned very early on in clinical practice was you can't really be creative. You know,
Mhm,
you can't be creative with, opioid doses, you know?
yeah,
It's either increase or decrease or taper them off or something. Like, there's set protocols that you
mhm,
follow.
right.
And I like breaking protocols.
Mhm,
So, I didn't want to get in trouble with the law.
right.
And I learned entrepreneurship, it's a wide field. There's so much that you can do.
Yes.
As you were reflecting with Jackie, who I wish I should have had her on this podcast. She's so busy though.
That'll be
Um,
part 2.
yes. Oh, that would be wonderful. Um, what made you think, man, I could work for myself?
Mhm. Well, one part of it is that at the time when I was really struggling with my job, my mom was able to transition from working in an office to working at home. And I
Mm,
saw how beneficial that was for her. And we're so similar. I was like, oh, maybe I could work from home. Is that even possible for pharmacists? Because at the time I didn't know. So that was something that really intrigued me. And I just loved the possibility of being able to set my own schedule, set my own hours, and be able to have time with my family and my friends and go to church, which was missing from my life for almost 8 years, working for someone else telling me when I work and when I can or can't have time off. So I love the
mm.
freedom to be able to choose for myself and take that time when I need it. Because being an entrepreneur, it doesn't take away all your troubles. There's still ups and downs and a lot of hard work. But when I realize I'm getting overwhelmed, I can step back and take that break.
Yeah, it's a new set of problems.
Yeah.
It's a new set that you didn't anticipate well, for me anyway, that you were emotionally mature enough to even handle, right?
Hmm.
And one of the basics of entrepreneurship that they teach anyone that's getting into it is the art of setting out with proper expectations and goal setting.
Hmm.
Now, your story is very unique from my perspective because for me, um, I worked on random side businesses for like 6 years.
Hmm.
Most of them didn't work out, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And 2017 is when I started the Happy Farm D, and in 2018, about a year and a half later, is when I
Hmm.
quit. You, on the other hand, you leaped brazenly and
I
with
did.
great courage. I
Yeah.
mean, when you told me what you did, I was like, whoa, this girl's got chutzpah, you know? Like I'm just very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
What was the goal setting like between, you're working your job, you're
Mhm,
building this business, and you're like,
mhm,
okay, this is what I need to do in order to quit my job and
mhm.
do this full time?
Yeah. So in order to be able to be here where I am today, I joined the PGX Consulting Confidence Academy, and I started that in April of 2021. Still working full time in retail, and I just was talking to a bunch of other pharmacists, people outside of pharmacy, trying to get as much wisdom as I could to make sure this was the right decision. A lot of praying and seeking what God would have me do with the rest of my life. And so I continued working for about 6 more weeks through mid May, and then took a leave of absence. And
Mm,
so, I wanted to save up some money before I left. And so I talked to my husband about it. There were some things that we did in our personal finances to make it possible for me to be
mm,
able to leave that
sure.
salary from retail. One
Yeah.
of them
I take it
was,
your husband worked.
yes, yes, he's a pastor. Makes
Okay.
makes good money. We've been at that church a while, so that was good. One of the
Good
things
money.
we
Is he a televangelist? Is that the
no,
kind
no,
of
no,
no?
no, no. I don't think that's for him, but
Got it. Okay.
we'll go where
Sorry
God
to
calls
sorry to
us.
tease.
No, that's okay. But one of the things I did was to sell my car.
Mm,
And so that was a decision that we made together. So there were a lot of things that we did to prepare for that leave. And then I took a 6 month leave of absence. So I was like, I have these next couple months. I had been working on it while still working full time, but I have this summer basically to like get this together, make sure this is going to work, make sure
yeah.
I like this. And then, I have to make a decision soon.
Mm.
And so that's what I did, poured myself into it, um, and
So
got
the
it
leave of
going.
absence was that
Mhm.
that wasn't like FMLA leave. It was just like straight up. I'm keep
Yes.
keep me on, but I'm not
Yes.
going to work.
Right. So
Mm,
that was something another pharmacist had done, and I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. I was like, oh, okay.
yeah.
And at the time, I had lost a couple family members, and I shouldn't have gone back to work. But anyways, I was like, I need this time for myself, not because I just want to use it to build a business. I need this mental break. I'm not in a good place. I'm not being a good pharmacist for my patients, my employees and technicians. It's taken a toll on me, and I can't keep going. So I've got to take this break.
Well, that's good that you had the emotional intelligence to do that. Some
Mm,
people, actually, a good friend of mine, lost a near dear brother like friend,
mhm.
and uh, this person had to go, well, chose to go to work. I mean, within a few days after
Yeah.
the passing, and it was like, my friend, you can't lose someone close to you and not
Mhm.
be affected in a
Affected.
negative and
Yeah.
powerful. Um, so kudos to you for taking that
Mm,
time.
thank you.
And you're just adding to this story, like how amazing you are. So not only did you lose someone, or it sounds like a few people you lost.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's
Thank you.
awful. But during that, um, you also created a business from
Mhm.
scratch, pretty much.
Yes.
Um, that's amazing. Way to
Thank
go.
you. Thank you.
That's quite incredible because I mean, I lost my father earlier this year as of this
Mm,
recording, and um, I couldn't work for like 2 months. I mean, I
mm.
did the occasional thing here or there,
Yeah.
but to go through that loss like that was incredibly difficult.
Mhm.
So while that's going on in your life,
Mhm.
you're working. It sounds like maybe almost full time trying to build a business.
Yes. Mhm. I did, yeah.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. So what were your goals like at the time? What was it like saying, "Okay, here's what I need to do."
Mhm. Um, well, I don't think I had maybe the best goals at the time. It was
Sure.
just, you know, get get my LLC and get my bank account and get all this stuff ready, and then
Mhm.
just go out there and start telling people about it and seeing if there's interest, seeing if anyone cares, if anyone is going to actually do this service that I'm going to offer, and just continue to um, meet people, share about what I do, because the topic of pharmacogenomics practically nobody has ever heard of, especially, I mean, even as a pharmacist, I had never heard of it. So, how
Sure.
can we expect people in the general public, other pharmacists, other providers to be telling their patients that this is an option to help them when we don't even know about it? So, it's just getting out there. I would definitely say I've gotten better about my goals the more pharmacists, entrepreneurs, small business owners that I talk and interact with. I'm just always absorbing their good advice and their ideas.
So, as you set out, it sounds like you kinda did the basics of what you needed to do,
Mhm.
but you said they may have not been the best goals. What do you mean by that?
Um, I think it was just, let's just see if this works. I didn't have any goals of like I want to reach a certain number of people or
Mm.
interact with a certain number of providers or pharmacy owners. So I was just sort
So
of going out there doing it, figuring
so
it
for
out as I
those
go.
people that may be considering doing a business, what
Yeah.
would you do differently?
Oh goodness. Definitely figuring out who I want to target. I still struggle with that. I make myself available to anybody who wants to use the service. So really niching down.
Mhm.
That's probably been a really big struggle. And so that's something that I'm working on for the new year,
Got it.
2023. Yes.
I find, you know, goal setting is always 2020 or 2020 vision, right? Because
Right.
you're like, if I just would have done this.
Yeah.
But you've been in business now for over a year. You're
Hmm.
working on niching down,
Yeah.
however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And looking back on the year that you have been in business,
Hmm.
what are some of the goals that you're surprised that you achieved?
Hmm. So I guess one is the price. So I started out really low just to see if anyone would
Sure.
even do it. I didn't
Oh
want to
yeah.
charge $1,000. I'm like, people are not going to pay $1,000 for something they've never even heard of. So I started small, and then in January of this year, so 22, I increased again, and then I
Hmm.
increased a third time in May. And so I
Wow,
was speaking with a
congratulations. It's
thank you.
such a that's such a mental mindset thing to
Yes.
increase your price,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, no one's gonna pay.
Mhm.
No one's gonna give me this much money, right?
Yeah. But then they
Um,
do, some do and some don't. So
well, yeah, prices, it's all about value.
yeah.
It's all about what you deem valuable. You know,
Mhm.
um, my mother commented the other day that getting frou-frou drinks, as she called them, is so expensive now,
Uh-huh.
right? And I asked her, well, how much did you pay? And she's like, oh, it was like $7 for this frou-frou drink. And I said, you got it for a steal then, because you paid the money for it. You
Yeah.
wanted it and you got
Uh-huh.
the value out of it. You
Yeah.
just are commenting on inflation and all these other things.
Yeah.
When I first started, the very first thing I sold, Melissa, was $2.50.
Mm.
It was a sticker, and I
Mhm.
didn't even charge for shipping and handling. But I remember getting that money and being like, "Oh my gosh, it is possible. I
Yeah.
can sell stuff. It's
Yeah.
amazing."
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's part of the process is just start and it'll work or it won't, and if it doesn't, then change and figure out, well, what went wrong and how can I do better the next time.
So as you set about to increase your price for, let's say, the latest experience,
Mm-hmm.
what were your goals around that? Like what were you hoping to accomplish? What were you hoping to see happen, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in the business?
Well, I was definitely trying to continue to cover my costs and business expenses. I think that's been something that I've been thinking a lot about, is that sometimes I feel like patients don't realize that what I'm doing is a business. Like, there are business expenses to what I'm doing, and what you're
Mm,
paying me, Melissa Turner is not going home with all of that. I'm only going home with a part of that. So just being able to cover my expenses, be able to continue to keep my business even open, I had to increase my prices. And as
mm,
my experience, the more patients I work with, the more value that I show as a pharmacist and how I'm helping them. They're learning things about their body and medications that they never knew. And they're saying things like, wow, I'm so glad I did this. Man, if I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have known X, Y, and Z. You've given me
mm.
peace of mind to know I'm on the right medications or the right dose. So as my experience increases, so does the value of what I'm providing, and therefore the price increases.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, um, when it comes to like pricing, I've learned that you in business, you want a certain amount of people saying no
Mm-hmm.
to it. Because if everyone is saying yes, if everyone is paying you, then you are priced too low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So as you're growing this and you're in the thick of it now,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the goals for, this new year that's coming upon us?
Yeah. Well, one goal I do have as of this recording was to get to 50 patients with a PGX consultation using the PGX service. And that was a goal that I had set mid November. And at
Mm.
the time, I had gone 6 weeks without a new customer. And that was definitely sad, to say the least, disheartening sometimes. Those
Yeah.
are the downsides or the low points of entrepreneurship that not many people
Mm.
talk about it. But I shared it. And then I set a goal. At the time, I had helped 43 people. And I said by the end of the year, I want to help 50. And so right now I'm sitting at 47. So I got
Hey.
3 more, hopefully, to get by the end of December. So that's one goal. And then definitely spending the next few weeks taking some time off to evaluate what is working, what is not, and then trying to probably restructure a little bit how I offer my services, making them expanding them a little, and as I said, finding a niche,
Mm.
instead of being able, or instead of trying to help everyone, um, just being really particular about who I help, because I have had some people that I've worked with who didn't follow up, didn't do what I said, and so I don't
Yeah.
think that they were really invested in it. And then just continuing to grow, I want to expand into independent pharmacies, adding this as a service because I love independence. I did have about 2 years of experience in an independent pharmacy and I loved it. And I hate to see them be bought out or closed. And so I want them to continue to thrive in our small towns, which is where I grew up, and I live in a small town. So I know they're important. And so just continuing to grow and expand the business. Yeah.
Lovely. If there's someone listening to this now
Mm-hmm.
and they are considering, maybe I could do this, maybe I could start
Mm-hmm.
consulting, or starting my own business, whatever that may be,
Mm-hmm.
what insights would you share with them from your journey?
Uh, I guess the biggest thing is just to start. Start somewhere, take that first step. And I don't know where this is going to end up. There are things that I'm doing now, like my fourth podcast of the year right now, that if you would have
Hey.
told me a year, 2 years ago, hey, this is where you'll be, I would have said, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. Nobody cares about my story. Like, that's, whatever. But here I am doing it. And it is because I just started. I took that first step and I continue to take the steps. And sometimes the steps don't work out. And
Yeah.
it doesn't result in what I thought it would, but I
Sure.
realized that's okay, because then I can take that time to look back and be like, why didn't it work and what can I do different going forward? And it's okay. It's going to be fine. Like, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if you do this? It's probably not as bad as you think it is. And so just start, get going.
I love that advice. I feel there's a good friend of mine who's actually going to be coming on the show as well, Corey Jinks. I've been hanging out with him for the last like 3 years as he's been building his business. And there's a friend of his that we keep coming back to who is stuck in that place. He hasn't started, but he keeps talking about it. And he's talked about it now for like 5 years.
Oh.
And that is that's a recipe for regret and guilt and shame. And I hate guilt and shame. I hate that in my life. So why not start and give it your all? Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that honestly held me back for like 6 years from, I think, seeing success was that fear of failure. While I did start lots of things, I never really committed to just one of them and gave it my everything.
Right.
I can't agree more. Any other lessons or powerful things that you would want to share to anybody?
Oh gosh. I guess the other biggest thing that I've learned throughout this whole process is how important connections and relationships and networking are. It's something I've talked about in my newsletter that I have on LinkedIn. I'm not comfortable talking to other people or like just putting myself out there, going somewhere to like a networking event.
You've done a great job in this
anybody.
podcast, by the way.
Yeah. And starting up a conversation, it's terrifying for me. I've been like this my whole life. I can eat dinner by myself in a restaurant. That doesn't bother me. It's okay. I like being by myself. But I've realized that I can't do this by myself. I don't know everything about everything, but there are people out there who are really good at the marketing and this and that and the other. And so I need them and they might need me too. So you cannot try to do this by yourself. Reach out to people. It's scary to walk up to someone or message them on LinkedIn or send them an email and ask them questions. But if you try to do it by yourself, it's going to take a really, really long time, or it may never happen. So we have to work together, especially pharmacists. I've seen a lot of negativity about pharmacy in the future. It's dying and don't go to pharmacy school. And I'm like, no, there's so much hope out there, but you can't sit back and complain about how things are. If you want things to be different, you have to get out there and do it. And you're going to need other people to help you along as well. And then you can help them.
A lovely message
Yeah.
to end on, I think.
Thank you.
For anyone that wants to snoop on your website, they can check it out.
Yep. TarheelPGXconsulting.com for my business, and then connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Lovely. And for anyone listening who may be feeling like, okay, I like the idea of faster. I don't want to try to do this on my own. I would encourage you to talk with one of our career advisors. We do mainly focus on career coaching, but like Melissa, we help a few people start their own businesses and launch empires. People like
that is my goal. I keep telling my husband, I'm turning
on
this
your
into
way.
an empire.
Yeah, what's interesting, I think, most about your story is that, like, I want to have you back in the future.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I think it's going to make the biggest difference for is you, because 3 years from now you're going to go,
Mm,
wow, did not anticipate this.
right.
Because when I think about 3 years ago, I would say the same thing. What I've accomplished is not what I expected.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be impressive to people as well. I think we can do some like creative splicing in the
Mm,
podcast. But for anyone out there that may be at their beginning or wondering how to navigate that path,
mm-hmm.
we would love to add some rocket fuel to your potential.
Yeah.
You can start the process by learning more about us and our coaching at thehappypharmd.com and schedule a talk with one of our career advisors. Eric or
Mm-hmm.
Tamar are lovely people. Eric just shared with me the other day that he's talked with over 2,000 pharmacists.
Wow.
He's learned a ton. And I think that you would also learn as well about some action steps that you can do in your
Mm,
career or business venture, as well as talk with a coach as well. We're happy to do that, to share more about our program and about ultimately how we get people where they want to go faster than they would by themselves.
mm-hmm.
Melissa, I love your story.
Oh, thank you.
It is true. We are going to have you back. We're just going to have to add some time to it, of
Okay.
course, unless you have something else you want to share along your journey. But I'd love
Oh,
to.
I could talk for hours.
Good.
We'll do
Well,
it in pieces.
I'd love to have you back in time to share, even have us listen to the podcast, right, and hear where you are at and where you're at now,
Yeah.
because I think it's inspiring what you've done, the
Mm,
risks that you've taken,
thank you.
and my sincere hope is that people really take heart the lessons that they've learned and like go forth and conquer.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you shouldn't.
Right. Yeah. If my sister's death taught me anything, I hope to get something good out of what happened to her. It's that life is short and we don't know if today is our last day. So why not give it our very best and just put yourself out there and do it. And it's going to be scary, but I'd rather be scared and do it than look back and be like, man, I wonder what could have happened, what could have been, because you never know.
And on that tearful note,
Oh no, I didn't want to end it sad.
well, no, it's inspiring, but yeah, you hit me in the feels.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't be. Thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you for listening. My sincere hope is that you live your pharmacist life well and you accomplish what you set out to do.
Yes, thank you.